All right, mabuhay Pilipinas, long live the world, the universe rather. Today is wonderful Wednesday, and of course, I wear pink. And good afternoon there in the Philippines, and good morning to us here in UK. Yes, I am in UK. UK. Just kidding. So, that handsome guy next to my screen, and he is really in UK. I'm just in UK. So we have an 8-hour time difference. So, by the way, pardon me, I am Tom Carlo E. Simborio of Safe Open Space, and I'll be the moderator for this session. Now, welcome to this afternoon session, the Check the Label, an intro to drug safety testing. Now, time check, it's 3:46 p.m. in the Philippines, and this time check and this summit is made possible in partnership with No Box Philippines, Street Law PH, I Do Care, IPG, Achieve, ASCORP, and AirMute. All right, so short introduction about this session. Now, remember in the Philippines, we had this commercial of a powdered milk. The endorser says, I go for milk, less sugar. Check the labels and see the difference. Little did we know that checking labels could be used whether it's with a relationship of a person or just checking the contents of a certain substance. Now, this session is about a practical and easy harm reduction tool used in the UK parties and concerts. Drug safety testing. Discover how drug safety testing is being used as a way to engage the youth for a healthier and safer way to enjoy the party. And by the way, I would like to remind everyone about the principles of this summit. It is pinned in the chat. So this summit is our shared safe space as we constructively come together and learn with each other. Let's inspire each other and discover together. We enjoin each one to give premium on respect, inclusion, and integrity. We will stand firm in ensuring that the summit remains to be a place where we can all have positive experiences. So if you want to join us in this stage, then please do that. You can see that raise hand function button there. Yes. So atin-atin lang to ha. Oo, mag-raise hand kayo para may print screen kayo kasama si ano guy. So if you have questions, use the question and answer, and you can share your thoughts and ideas in the chat. So to give you the background of our speaker, now our speaker for this session has a master's degree in chemistry. Okay? He's a master and uses his expertise as a chemist to integrate science and technology with harm reduction. He's also a director of the Reagent Test UK that provides test bottles for non-chemists to use, like me. So he's also a trustee for SciCare UK, Welfare and Harm Reduction, and senior scientist of The Loop that runs lab at music festivals. Ladies and gentlemen, people of diverse sociologies, let us all welcome my guy, your guy, Ati Guy's guy, a family guy. Let us simply welcome Guy Jones. Hi, Guy.
Hi, Tom. Thank you very much for the introduction. So yeah, as Tom said, I'm going to be talking to you today on behalf of the organization The Loop, doing drug checking. And I'm going to give an introduction about what drug checking is and what that means, what that term means. As there's 15,000 kilometers in between the UK and the Philippines, we've recorded the presentation as a video just to ensure that there are no technical challenges. And then I'm, of course, going to be here afterwards, and I'm really looking forward to taking your questions to kind of clear up or just any curiosities you might have about the work that we do. So are we going to roll the video? My name is Guy Jones, and I'm a senior scientist at The Loop, a drug checking organization operating in the UK. And today I'm going to talk to you about an introduction to our work, what we call multi-agency safety testing. And you'll see why it's called that, perhaps rather than the simpler term drug checking as I go through. In my day-to-day work, I run Reagent Tests UK, which provides at-home drug checking equipment for people to use. It's a great deal less sophisticated than lab equipment, but it is something that people can use to help keep themselves safe. And I'm also a trustee for the charity SciCare UK, welfare and harm reduction. What is the Loop? The Loop is a community interest company, so it means it's a non-profit organization, and that's enshrined in law in the UK, and it was founded in 2013. And it originally started off doing welfare provision and harm reduction work, so giving out information and helping people who have run into difficulties at a music event or similar. And fairly early on, we started to become able to run behind the scenes testing of substances. And this was through a collaboration with the police in Manchester and through the founder's expertise as a professor of criminology in Durham University. And so through the connections she had made through that, she was able to get some early training, and the police were very happy to allow this to operate behind the scenes at a music event where nobody who was using drugs would have access to any of the results. All of the samples were coming from what we would call an amnesty bin, like a gate, a box on the gate that people can put their drugs into on the way in. And when they're putting those drugs in there, they won't get in trouble. If they still have other drugs on them when they walk through security, then they would get in trouble just like normal. So it gives people an opportunity to think, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to take these drugs in anymore. And so that allowed us to start to build a following through social media alerts about particularly dangerous batches of drugs that were circulating. As we continued to operate this type of service, feeding back results to the medics and the welfare on site, and also helping the police to understand the general situation about drugs. We were never feeding them information that they were able to use in prosecutions because the information in our lab is not admissible for evidence. After a few years of doing that and really demonstrating our competence and the value that it brought to the medics and to the other services operating on site, we were able to make the leap to offering public return of analysis results. So a person who has submitted a sample directly to us can then get a result back. And the pilots for that were really successful. And at the first event that we operated at, there was a 95% reduction in ambulances needing to take people from the festival to the hospital. We can never say, oh, it was all entirely us. But what we do see is that this is a general trend that we see, that all of the events that we go to, there are reductions in the number of drug-related medical admissions. And this is not surprising when you think that we're very likely to be engaging with the very highest risk people who are the most likely to end up running into problems anyway. Keep it simple. A drug checking service does not need to compete with a top-of-the-range university lab. What we need is equipment that is going to allow us to identify the compounds in a mixture that are going to contribute the risk. The majority components, what we don't need to know about is a 0.00001% contamination of some minor thing. We really need to identify and communicate to people what are the components that are present that create the risk. But having said that, it's not the lab that's really doing the heavy lifting in a drug checking service. What actually is doing the bulk of the work of keeping people safe, and it's keeping people safe that is our core goal, is the education that they get from interacting with the service, that we can teach them about the risks that they may be exposed to, and we can teach them ways that if they're going to use drugs, and sadly some of them will do that, no matter all of our best efforts, that is still a reality that is going to happen whether or not there is drug checking. So if people are going to choose to use drugs, how can we reduce the chance that they end up needing medical attention? And if we can give them information, we really have a very powerful tool. We have to keep in mind when we're thinking about equipment that every sample that we don't test is a person who has received no advice at all. They've received no information about what's in their drug. Sure, we knew that. But they've also received no information about how to reduce the risks that they're exposed to.
And when we're starting from a situation where most people have very poor information, even being able to give them drug information without a test result is a big improvement. But if you try and get people at a music festival to come and sit down for 15 minutes and talk to you about drug risks, good luck, because if there's no test result, they're not going to come. So that's really where the lab comes in a way that's underappreciated, is it gets people in and it gets them talking to our healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, drug workers, who we give extra training to. And we use off-the-shelf systems to really streamline the process and keep our costs down and allow us to focus on our core goal of keeping people safe. And this is our 10-minute intervention. And this is where we deliver that education that I talked about before. Drug checking is an incredibly valuable opportunity to really engage with people, not just to give them a leaflet and they sort of look at it and throw it in the bin, but we really have 10 minutes where we're treating them like an adult and we're giving them information that they are very likely to have never heard before. So they're really listening, they're really interested in protecting their health. And I think there's often a misconception about people who use drugs that they don't care about their health. But from my experience talking to these people, it's completely untrue. If they are given the information to keep themselves safe, they will use it. It's just that in the vast majority of cases, they don't think it exists. They have been told all their lives using drugs is a death sentence. Using drugs is like Russian roulette. You just never know when you're going to die randomly. But that's not true. Actually, there are a lot of things that we can do to reduce the risk. There will still be some risks that cannot be reduced, but if we can go for the low-hanging fruit and prevent some of the most avoidable situations, we are, by sheer probability, going to reduce the number of people who encounter harm. And so we deliver with the test result. It's a requirement that in order to get your test result, you sit down with one of our healthcare team. We deliver that test result with the information that helps to keep them safe. And the test result really helps us to, as I mentioned before, get people in there and get them listening to it. It makes it into kind of a trade that we have something they want, their test result, and we want their attention in return. And people, by and large, are so pleased to give that to us because actually they really appreciate getting information that is helping them. They sit down and sometimes they're a bit reluctant at first, but very often it's difficult to get people to leave because actually sometimes for the first time in their life, they are able to speak to someone who is truly an expert, who really has expertise, and they're able to learn how to keep themselves safe, and they want to do that. In the next slide, I want to talk about building bridges. And this is obviously going to be based on our experience in the UK. But one of the things that we've worked hard to do from the beginning is to show the authorities that we have a common goal with them. In the police, it's no secret that people join the police because they want to live in a safer community. They want to help their community and make the world a better place to be. And that's the Loop's goal as well. The only difference is that each of us has different tools for achieving that. And so when we're going to an event, it's by the invite of the authorities on site. So that's the medics, the police, and the festival organizers all want us to be there because they have a goal of keeping people safe. And they recognize that by educating people and by preventing drug casualties, that is contributing to their goal of keeping people safe. It's an obvious step to go through. So the way that we've achieved this over time is that we are always working and deliberately trying to collaborate with the other authorities. We're always a professional service. It's difficult not to be. We're staffed with a large team of doctors and nurses and chemists and media professionals. So it really is a very professional operation. We have a lot of expertise because our healthcare workers have specific training on drugs. Our chemists, of course, have their kind of background as chemists and furthermore spend a lot of time thinking about drugs and drug analysis and the harms of drugs. And so we have a great opportunity actually, not just to educate the partygoers, but also to help the police and the medics understand the risks that surround new drugs that we might have detected, or things that they might not have considered about existing drugs. The police certainly have a really varied job. They do many, many different things, and they don't have time generally to specialize in becoming experts about drugs. And we do have that opportunity. And so it's a really good opportunity to be able to share with them a lot of our knowledge to help them achieve their goal of keeping people safe. So yeah, when we're at an event, we're very much always trying to collaborate, and we're there by the invite of the authorities. Talking about how we use the media to reach out further beyond just that small little area where we are at a music festival. So this is something that we've been doing from, again, fairly early on, thinking about when we identify a sample that is of unusually high concern, we are going to want to make sure more people know about that than just the person getting their test result. And so we do that by talking to the media, to newspapers, by using our own social media reach and putting out really carefully worded alert to help communicate the additional risk that certain substances are presenting. And so this can be a little bit of a sticking point for some of the authorities, but when we approach it, again, always carefully, we really think about how do we make sure that this risk communication is getting information out to people and educating them, that is showing that there are some really obvious samples that are easy for us to detect, but are not easy for the public to identify. And those easy to identify imposters are potentially causing the most harm. It's not quality control information that we're putting out there. It is information to help keep people stay safe. And so you can see there's a tweet on the side here that is about some blotter which was sold as the drug LSD, which has generally quite a safe risk profile, and instead it contained different drugs which have a much more dangerous risk profile. So there's a clear reason for us to make a broader risk communication about this, and we probably do about 1 to 2 of these per 1,000 samples. So it's not particularly common that we'll, in the UK's drug market, need to make a communication like this. And we're quite careful about when we broadcast these messages, because we don't want people to get kind of bored of them. We want them, when the loop transmits an alert, we want people to sit up and listen and know it's serious. Do people have questions? I'd be really happy to answer them. Thank you very much for listening, and please check out our kind of social media and websites for more information. Thank you ever so much.